We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, let me, since I haven't spoken on this, get a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America. Such systemic racism that has plagued our nation for far, far too long. I said that over the course of the past year that the blinders have been taken off the nation, the American people. But what many Americans didn't see or had simply refused to see couldn't be ignored any longer. Those 8 minutes and 46 seconds that took George Floyd's life opened the eyes of millions of Americans and millions of people around all over the world. It was the knee on the neck of justice, and it wouldn't be forgotten. And it's not white Americans' fault, but just a fact.
The very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. If you believe in this number as I do and would like to join me in the fight for reparations, please email me at friendsofadostv@gmail.com. That's friendsofadostv@gmail.com. Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the Central. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Hey, Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the reparationist perspective, bringing you those ADOCS hot topics and making the case for reparations and weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. Some more. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much, family, for joining the live. And the puckery continues, family. It just gets richer and richer. While this country managed to weaponize a pandemic against AMERIKKA, you hear me? They have enriched themselves 130.2 trillion with a T dollars. You heard? Yes. This is exactly what they've been doing. I told y'all, Barack Obama enriched 1 million white millionaires through policy. He took our tax dollars, weaponized our tax dollars against us, and at the end of all the policies, would not put audits and restrictions on how these banks should lend this money back to us, and ultimately we lost over 53% of our wealth under Obama. And I told y'all this pandemic was being used to steal an entire election. Yes, yes it was, and to wipe AMERIKKA completely off the monopoly board. 87% of our electorate thought it was a brilliant idea to replace a racist in office for 4 years with no record against American descendant of chattel slavery, with racist in office a combined 65 years, with records several New York City street blocks long against AMERIKKA. This man has been in office thanks to you who voted for him, not me, not my enlightened ones, not my woke ones. Thanks to you not getting on code, 87% of our electorate. This man has been in office for 3 months now, has not written not one executive order for AMERIKKA, has managed to weaponize George Floyd's execution by the race soldier to protect Asians, okay, and has ultimately finished American descendant of chattel slavery. This was it. And now he's getting in position to weaponize even more immigration against us. Yes, because they economically neutralized us. Now they're coming for the vote. Yes, they are. And 87% of our electorate voted this into office. And now they're quiet as a church mouse pissing on cotton. You can't hear from them now. You can't hear from them now. They want to sit up here and still continue to try to blame it on the Republicans. This is how ignorant we are when it comes to politics. We don't even understand the role we're playing in extincting our own people. You want to blame it on Republicans. The man been in office 3 months. He got a trifecta, just like Obama had a trifecta. Yeah, he had a trifecta his first 2 years, and we lost 53% of our wealth under him, while he created 1 million white millionaires during his tenure. Okay, so now you want to blame Republicans when we've got a trifecta again and 8 Democrats who were a no to a $15 minimum wage in a nation where the median price for a house is $340,000. But y'all still defending and white-splaining this kind of nonsense up in my feed. You simply don't know enough. And that is what I'm here to educate you, because I don't even know if we have another election cycle left to turn this Titanic around. But with everything in me, even if it's down to 1 show a week, I'm going to be on my square talking about all of it. For those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, to partake of the fruit of this spirit over here, who is on her square for AMERIKKA, American descendants of chattel slavery, if you're new. Okay? So let's jump right into it. As you see,
I've already got up for you what it's looking like. This is from my reading 2 weeks ago. What we get wrong about closing the egregious racial wealth gap. I've got some new data for you. Yes, some post-COVID numbers. Shout out to one of the fearless leaders, Asan Powell, in the NAASD, that's the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants. I thank you so much, Sister, and to all of you, my co-hosts, who constantly keep me in the know with different videos and different articles for me to process, to make the case. To make the case. We are the anchor of this country. And let's get into it. I don't want to belabor because we got a lot to cover. And so let me just get to covering it. So what you see up here right now, I am showing you as I keep my face active. The median household net worth by race and education. Now, survey on income and program participation. I think that this is, let me see. It looks like 2014. Let's see here. Okay. Or is it 2017? Let's see. This is 2015 and 2017. Okay. This data right here. Of course, office calculations, survey on income and program participation, 2014. They got so many dates on here. Many of these figures were updated from a prior report entitled Umbrellas Don't Make It Rain, Why Studying Hard and Working Hard Isn't Enough for Black Americans. Okay, so that looks like the final answer is 2015. Listen, before now, but I'm going to jump into the numbers of what it looks like now, because of course, as they were sharing how these white and immigrants have come up in the pandemic while we lost our lives, and folks want to try to shame us for not believing in a vac that we are now the guinea pigs for. It's been out, what, a year? Maybe? I don't even know. I don't even think that vac has been out a year. I don't know how long they've been working on it, but the bottom line is we shut the country down a year ago, and then they got into position in competition for those federal dollars, you see, because now they want to give that COVID vaccine for free. And isn't it so bizarre how all of a sudden Q1, they're opening up the stores and the restaurants, and folks are just out and about in 1 quarter since Biden was elected? All of a sudden the country is free to open? Looky here, look at that. Poof! He's a miracle worker. He walks on water. They're opening the schools next month. Look at that. Miraculously, you win or steal an election, weaponizing the pandemic. Yes, that's what you did. Okay, and now, like Moses parted the Red Sea, everything is free to open up. Enough people have gotten the vaccination. Time to open up the schools. Time to get back to business as usual. I was out yesterday, and I mean, the band was in full effect over at the Grove. Had me a grand old time out there gigging with them. Some folks had their mask on, some didn't. I mean, it was like LA never missed a beat. Folks was out luxuriating on the lawn. I'm here to tell you the magic of the Democrats being in office for 1 quarter to disappear the COVID. A pandemic that has shut us down and put us further on the bottom, and has pretty much set us up to be wiped off the monopoly board. As folks want to sit up here and celebrate a $1,400 check, since the last check was given, in December for $600. Prior to that was around March for $1,200. I guess none of us had any bills. Life just stopped happening in between all that for ADOCS. That's what happened. Our creditors just stopped everything. Nothing was owed. We didn't lose our homes. We didn't grow in the homeless population. None of that happened. Miraculously, a pandemic comes, and they want to take, 12 plus, 12 plus 14, 2,600 and $3,200. has made everything all right. We've been shut down a year. Most of us lost our jobs. I'm grateful, but my job still scaled back. That salary got slashed when my hours were slashed, okay? And that happened to many of us working in corporate. So 3,200 makes us whole. As whites and immigrants come up $130.2 trillion. Let's talk about it. So this is the median household net worth by race and education. Okay. Let's start with on the bottom. Less than high school. Less than a high school diploma. Black folks' median household net worth is $2,775 to white folks, $82,968. Less than a high school diploma. Our country, our ancestors built all the wealth these Mickey Fickies eat from. Don't let nobody sit up here and tell you there was an industry greater than chattel slavery to create the wealth in this country. They're lying to you and to themselves. Don't listen to them. Plug up your ears. Less than a high school education, 2015, Black folks, $2,775 net worth, and white folks, $82,968. But once you graduate high school, you get a big old bump, ADOCS. Yay! Your ancestors built the country, built the wealth in this country that everyone eats from but us. And you get a $4,000 raise. Okay? You now are worth $6,660. And guess what? Your white counterpart, which the color of white in this country is green, gets a, what is that? $20,000 bump in income? High school diploma, $6,600 to $118,580 for white folks. Some college gets you a big bump, family. You're now at $18,200 median household net worth, as compared to some college for white folks, $135,415. Another what? $17,000 increase. 18,000, whatever. I'm just rounding up. Now, when you go to college, you Black folk, ADOCS strong, $70,219 for just your undergraduate degree, as compared to the undergraduate degrees of white folks to the tune of $268,028. And then Black people, when you go out here and you load yourself with $100,000 in school debt for a master's degree, okay, all the student loans, you get to make $141,115 as your median income. To white folks, $455,212. Okay. Okay. Sounds fair to me. Let's go. Let me stop sharing that. And I got something else to share with y'all. Let's get into it. Yeah. This is what y'all want to continue to do, to disappear your people. Because that's exactly what you're participating in when you don't weaponize your vote. The only commodity we clearly have, they have neutralized us economically. Now they're coming for the vote. It's done. Let's go. Next. Let me share the screen. So, since the pandemic, let me see, make sure y'all can see, because I don't even know if y'all saw that last time. Okay, here we go. This is, since the pandemic, this is the real median household income in the U.S. 2019. So let's fast forward and see if we're doing any better, family. The real median household income in the U.S. in 2019, Black folks, what's that, around 45,000? To non-Hispanic white, 75,000. To Hispanics, what's that, around 60,000? To Asians, damn near 100,000. the real median household income in the U.S. 2019. Let's go over some more stuff since I got this open over here. This is 100 must-know statistics about race, income, and wealth. The income and wealth disparities along racial lines have repercussions for all aspects of life in the U.S. Education, we're on the bottom. Health, we're on the bottom. Home ownership, we're on the bottom. Retirement, we're on the bottom. Life expectancy, we are on the bottom. We are the anchor of America. Our ancestors built it, they eat it, and steal it from us, and burn it from us, and lynch it from us, and knee on the neck from us. Government sanctioned executions from us, redlining from us. Gerrymandering. This is June 8th, 2020. Christine Benz. Racial inequality in the U.S. has many dimensions, but one of the most impactful and broad-ranging is economic, and it's the only one that matters. Trust and believe, I just did a show about how Chauvin is being set up to walk. I read you the juror questionnaire. I shared with you about how Breonna Taylor set up for $12 million. Her case, family took $12 million, and all of them walked. And I juxtaposed that against the $27 million the Floyd family just accepted. And we're going to get into why all these crumbs they're cheering about as having passed through the House, how it's insignificant and would have never saved George Floyd's life. We're going to get into that next. Okay, but they accepted $27 million. This is blood money. And then here comes the people coming out trying to be political. Don't say anything. Don't nobody get upset while they surround the courts with 3,200 officers and National Guards around the courthouse. Okay? And listen here. So I told you that dollars bring dignity and being poor makes us a target. And this white woman right off the bat says, racial inequality in the U.S. has many dimensions, but one of the most impactful and broad-ranging is economic. On average, people of color, they love that term. Let's just call it what it is, black folks. Everybody's beating the brakes off of us. This is a black folk, ADOCS, not even black, because black is flat. We know the black immigrants blues ain't nothing like ours. Experience significantly lower levels of income, retirement savings, and rates of home ownership than white Americans. Those shortfalls contribute mightily to other ill effects, poorer healthcare outcomes. Hence why we're dying disproportionately from COVID, as the presidents decide to give COVID relief to the Indians. Not ADOCS, we tried that. We tried a COVID relief bill. Okay? We are trying right now an Economic Recovery Act to try to get something for ADOCS in the first 100 days. But the benign neglect is real and on purpose and by design. Those shortfalls contribute. Okay, so we did that part. The plandemic has exacerbated many of these issues. Making strides toward improving these issues, let alone solving them, is far from simple. But a key first step is acknowledging and understanding the magnitude of the problem. You don't think these race soldiers know what this is? This is capitalism at work. It needs a bottom cast, and it decided many moons ago that we were it. And if there's a single positive associated with financial inequality along racial lines, it's that it's incredibly easy to demonstrate with data. Folks want to come up in my feed talking about this ain't true, have yet to produce any data to counter what I'm arguing. You guys have got some fantasies based on your world and your experience about what is really happening to our lineage. Lineage matters. Here are some key statistics about the impact of the racial divide for income, savings, and overall financial well-being. Note that each figure links to the source material for the data. Let's look at the pandemic effects. Our unemployment rate in 2020 was 9.9% overall. As compared to 2019, 5.4%. Whites, 5.8, about 4 basis points more than ours in 2019. But in 2019, their unemployment was 3%. Hispanics is 8.7 in 2020, 4% in 2019. Asian Americans in December 2020, 6.7%, as compared to 2.6% in 2019. 4.3 percentage points decrease in labor force participation, Black women, from February 2020 to December 2020. 1.6 percentage points decrease in labor force participation, white women. We had 4.3% a decrease in labor force participation due to the pandemic, as compared to white women, a 1.6 decrease in labor force participation. So, who do you think is benefiting from the $130.2 trillion come up? NON-ADOCS or white women? 3.8 percentage points decrease in labor force participation by Hispanic women. We had 4.3. Hispanics had 3.8. How does that work when our ancestors built all the wealth they eat from? Yeah, y'all don't want me to get in here and talk about this immigration being weaponized against us. Exactly why they don't want me talking about it. They don't want you to know what's happening to you. They don't want you to know you're being neutralized and extincted. So of course they don't want me talking about it. You can call me whatever you please. I am telling the TR Ruth over here every opportunity I get to come on this camera. Do you understand me? So like I was saying, 8.7% in 2020. I'm sorry, I jumped back. So 3.8 percentage point decrease in labor force participation by Hispanic women, as compared to our 4.3. 19.7% of Black Americans able to telework from 2017 to 2018. 29.9% of white Americans able to telework in the same time period. Look at that. 10% more white folks could telework from home as compared to us. Hispanics, 16.2%, Asian, 37% teleworked. 36% of Black workers in frontline jobs was in 2018. Frontline occupations are defined as those involving close face-to-face contact with consumers, clients, and patients, or where social distancing is difficult. For example, poultry processing. So 36% of Black workers are in frontline jobs in 2018. 20% of white workers were there in 2018. 33% Hispanic, 25% Asian American. Okay, so what this means is that we were already being set up as 36% of the frontline jobs in 2018 to eat COVID. I've already shared with many of you that I believe I had COVID in October 2017, the first time. And the second time was first quarter 2019. They called it pneumonia, but it was all the symptoms of COVID. And I've heard from many folks who said they were sick with the same symptoms long before they closed this country down. Back to the text. Let's look at income. 2019, our real median household income was $45,438, as compared to non-Hispanic white households, $76,057. As compared to Hispanics making more than us, yet again, $56,113 to our $45,438. Asians, $98,174. This is why white folks storm the Capitol. They're not going to wait until Asians are making more than them. They're making noise right now because these Asians have got them beat by about $20,000. 7.9% real income growth between 2018 and 2019 for Black households in the U.S. A 7.9% got us to 45,000, and the median home price nationwide is 340,000. 5.7% real income growth for non-Hispanic white households, 7.1% for Hispanics who make more than us by about $10,000. We're more educated than them, but they make $10,000 more than us. 10.6% for Asian households. 59 cents, the amount earned by the median Black household for every dollar earned by the median white household in the U.S. 2018. Keep in mind, our ancestors' lives built the wealth that they eat from, and we get 59 cents on the dollar. Hispanics get 20 cents more, 73 cents on the dollar. But we died for it. And we don't have all hands on deck. We have yet to reach a critical mass of folks fighting for reparations, cash. You hear that, CBC and Biden and all these folks getting on board with a very toothless, incomeless, moneyless HR 40, right? But look at the data. Look at the data. So poverty. 18.8% is the poverty rate for Black Americans in 2019. Excuse me 1 second, family. I thought I silenced this. Okay. So our poverty in 2019, the rate was 18.8% to white folks, 9.1% to Hispanics, 15.7% to Asian Americans, 7.3%. The poverty amongst our Black children, 26%. 8% for white kids, 21% for Hispanic kids, 7% for Asian kids. The poverty for Black folks age 65 and over. The group I get the most pushback from for fighting for reparations and weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. Their poverty is 17.9 as compared to 18.8% of us working adults. 6.8% for non-Hispanic white folks, 65 and above, that's white folks. 17.1 for Hispanics and 9.3 for Asians. But our ancestors built it, and we're in a race for the bottom with Hispanics out front economically in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Household net worth. Let's talk about it. The median household net worth for all Black households in 2019, this seems very off. This is very off. This is very off. It's around 1,700. They're saying in 2019 it was 24,100. Lies. To white folks, 189,100. To Hispanics, 36,050. 10,000, 12,000 more than us. To the household net worth, Black households where household head completed high school only. In 2016 was $10,010. Lies. Median household net worth, white households where household head completed high school only, $100,600 compared to $10,010, really $1,700 for us. I'm going to find that data where it shows that Asians are nationwide. Median net worth is over 600,000 compared to Black folks 1,700. I did that show already. in the nation. I don't know where she getting this information from. This is totally bloated when it comes to us. But I'll keep reading on. So, head of household, high school educated whites is $100,600 to ADOCS $10,000. To Hispanics who complete high school only, $26,800. Now, what is accurate is the egregious racial wealth gap. The numbers are wrong for us. I don't know about and for them too. This ain't feeling right to me. But I digress. The spread is what we're looking at right now. How in the entire hell are Hispanics with a high school degree, high school diploma, $16,800 wealthier in terms of their households than ADOCS? Median household net worth, all other household where household head just completed high school, $52,301. That's $42,300 greater than ADOCS, whose ancestors built the country, built the wealth in this country. Median household net worth for Black households where household head has college degree in 2016, $68,300, a lie. For white folks with a college degree, triple us, $391,000. Hispanics are about 10,000 greater, or a little less. 6. Anywho, 73,910. To all other households, 368,600. 10% of Black families that have received an inheritance in 2019. 10%. 10% of 35 million ADOCS. 40 million if you include immigrants. 10% received an inheritance. 30% of white families received an inheritance. That's a lie. 7% of Hispanic families received an inheritance. 41% of Black households that could get $3,000 from family or friends. A lie. 41%. How in the world can 41% of Black households get $3,000 from a family or a friend, and the net worth here is $10,010? You see the puckery? %30 of white families. How? Wait, I'm sorry. Let's jump down. They're claiming 41% of us could get $3,000 when our net worth is only $10,000, which is inflated. We know it's not no $10,000. How many people you know got $10,000 sitting up in the bank? That ain't a loan. How many Black folks do you know got 6 months worth of savings? How in the world, if your median income is $45,000, do you have $10,000 and the median price of a house nationwide is $340,000? Humor me that. Put it in the chat. 72% of white households that could get $3,000 from family or friends. How? How only 71%? When their median household net worth is $100,600. Put in the chat. 58% of Hispanics to get $3,000 from their family or friends. And they're not even dealing with Asians. Retirement assets. 35% of Black families with retirement savings in 2019. How? How of Black families have a retirement savings when our net worth nationwide is $1,700. 57% of white families. How is that so low? 26% of Hispanic families. 17% of Black families with retirement savings at 89. 17%. You're telling me that on $45,000 median income, our ability to save doubled between 89 and 2019. 44% of white families with retirement savings in 89. 16% of Hispanic families with retirement savings. 35,000 median balance for Black families with retirement accounts in 2019. 35,000 median balance for Black families with retirement accounts in 2019. You're going to have to work until you drop, just like the sharecroppers had to. This is debtor's prison, 35,000, and it's a lie. $35,000. When will you ever be able to afford to retire? 80,000 for white families, that's a lie, and 31,000 for Hispanic families. Like I said, we shouldn't be in a race for the bottom as the anchor of this country anyhow. When our ancestors built all the wealth through the most heinous chattel slave labor known to the born world. 33% of Black families participating in a 401k style defined contribution plan in 2016. 51% white families, non-Hispanic, 28% Hispanic, 17% of Black families covered by a pension in 2016. 21% of non-Hispanic white families covered by a pension. 13% of Hispanic families covered by a pension in 2016. Let's keep going. I'm about that data, so y'all need to get your little libations. We going in tonight. 33% of Black Americans age 65 and older for whom Social Security is their sole source of retirement income. 18% of white Americans age 65 and older. 40% of Hispanics. 85% is the average monthly Social Security retirement benefit for Black Americans as a percentage of the average benefit for white retirees. 85% of our retirement benefits are coming from Social Security, which is constantly under threat. And at the rate they're not hiring us because affirmative action has been weaponized against us as reverse discrimination, while white women, immigrants, and LGBTQIA come up on our affirmative action. When corporate with 3 Ks, America with 3 Ks hires them, that quota is fulfilled. That was intended to make us whole post our emancipation, post our civil rights. So, for those of us that are unemployed or underemployed or being paid under the table, you're not getting this. You're not paying into Social Security. Can't get a job. Home ownership. They're claiming that 45% is a home ownership rate for Black American households in 2019. How? With a median income of $45,000 and a median price for a house at $340,000, how is damn near half of our electorate homeowners? (74% non-Hispanic white, 48% Hispanic home ownership, And look at the median home values. Black homeowner median home value, $150,000. I guess that's in alignment with the median income. But I mean, where are you living in a house for $150,000? Median home value for Black homeowners. Can you afford to live out here where I stay? A 20-minute walk to the beach? Somebody put in there in the chat, in the feed, Facebook today, that you can own a 3-bedroom home for $80,000. Where, I ask? In Alabama where the hookworm is? Or in Flint where the lead water is? I don't know any place in this country where I would prefer to move to pay $80,000 for a 3-bedroom. Where's that, in Chirac? Where I got to worry about bullets coming through my windows? Killing me and my child? And why is it the case when our ancestors built all the wealth? White folks, $230,000 median home value, and Hispanics is $200,000. Education. 24% of Black population had bachelor's degree or higher in 2017, compared to white folks, 38% bachelor's degree or higher, compared to Hispanic, 17%. We got 1.5 times more education according to these numbers, which to me are not accurate. But until I pull up what I know to be the truth, let's go with this. We're 1.5 times more educated than them, but they're earning more money than us. What page is this? I wanted to go back. I can't see the page number. Hold on. I got to go back. That was beyond home ownership. I got to go back. Their median household net worth is $36,050 to our $24,100. But they're 17% degree to our 24% degree. Their income is $56,113. Their median household income to our median of $45,438,000. But we've got bachelor's degree or higher at 24%. They're at 17%. Let me jump back down. Ooh-wee. Oh my God. What did James Baldwin say? To be ADOCS in this country is to wake up, and to be ADOCS and conscious in this country is to wake up in a constant state of rage. Let me get back to where I was. Here we go. Education. Woo-wee. But AOC want reparations for her people. And sad truth is, everybody will get it but ADOCS. Ain't that the way it works? We're going to have $5 white ADOCS and $5 Hispanic ADOCS and $5 Asian ADOCS. As a CBC, Sheila Jackson Lee sits up on HR 40 with everybody who's in that pot, everybody that was at that second hearing, who constantly stress no cash repair. But y'all keep voting for this instead of feeding into an equity advocates pack to unseat these Mickey Fickies. Okay? Okay. That's what y'all want to do. That's what y'all want. Hey, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. Because I know this. And I'm not going to let my ship go down with everybody else. That's not going on. Not over here. And y'all better use this data to make sure your families are okay. You see, because none of one of these people we fighting for is in a position to fight for us if we lose everything behind this. You better prioritize, because they got some priorities for you. It's for your people extinction. %38% completion rate for Black students starting a four-year university compared to 62% for white folks. 23,400 average amount of student loan debt at graduation for Black students who have earned their bachelor's degree. 16,000 for white folks. They stole all our money. Of course they have less student loan debt than we do. They can afford to pay. They can afford to save. $52,726 is the average student loan debt for Black graduate college grads. For Black college graduates, $28,006 for a student loan debt 4 years after graduation for white college students, college grads. 40% of Black college graduates who take on debt to pay for graduate school. 22% of white college graduates take on debt to pay for graduate school. Our numbers are double. Their numbers are double when it's favorable. Our numbers are double when it's unfavorable. Life expectancy. All of this ties into your life expectancy. For Black women, our life expectancy is 77.9. To Black men, 71.5. To white women, 81. To white men, 76.1. To Hispanic women, 84.2. And the Hispanic men, 79.1. Okay, let's stop sharing that and get into how there's been the wealth transfer. Let's talk about it. U.S. households ended 2020 with a record $130.2 trillion in wealth, the Fed say. Now, keep in mind the data I just read you, because of course they're not talking about who benefited from the $130.2 trillion, which households. They conveniently left that out. But now you have that in the back of your mind as I read this. It's dated March 11, 2021, and it's from Reuters.com. U.S. households ended 2020 with a record $130.2 trillion in wealth, the Federal Reserve said in a report on Thursday, as rock-bottom interest rates and a massive fiscal rescue stemmed the financial fallout from the coronavirus pandemic. But there's no money to restore you. On the low end, $104 trillion. They just enriched themselves during a pandemic to the tune of $130.2 trillion. But there's no money to do reparations, which I told you on the low end is $104 trillion. Rising equity markets added $4.9 trillion to household assets in the fourth quarter, and rising real estate values added around $900 billion. How many ADOCs participated in that? The report showed. Balances in cash, checking accounts, and savings deposit rose by a combined $642.7 billion in the fourth quarter to a record $14.1 trillion. That's just in the fourth quarter. $642.7 billion to a record $14.1 trillion. Household wealth rose $12 trillion from the year earlier period, and consumers paid off a record $118.3 billion in credit card debt. The U.S. Central Bank's report on household, business, and government financial accounts does not provide a breakdown of higher income families' versus poor ones. How convenient. And mask the very different experiences of those who were employed and those who were not, as well as those who own stocks and homes and those who did not. That's why I read the stats to you. But the latest data serves as a snapshot of the overall strength of immigrant and white U.S. family finances. That's how I'm going to put that. That was my part. Which were buoyed by nearly $3 trillion in fiscal aid early in the crisis, as well as by the Fed's interest rate cuts and monthly bond purchases. So about 10% of mostly Black immigrants benefited from this. The report covers the October through December period when millions of out-of-work Americans have begun to exhaust their unemployment benefits, job growth had slowed, and COVID-19 cases surged, and before any of the effects of the $892 billion pandemic relief package signed during the final week of the year were felt. We don't feel that. That's a combined $3,200, a little more if you have dependent children. But not enough to make you okay if the median income nationwide is $45,000 and most of us are unemployed. We don't feel these stimuluses. Money from that package, which included $600 checks to most Americans, additional unemployment benefits and aid to small businesses, did not start flowing until the start of this year. And households stand to receive a new round of aid starting as early as next week, when most Americans will get an additional $1,400 check as part of a $1.9 trillion aid package that was passed by Congress and is expected to be signed by President Joe Biden on Thursday. What difference does it make? You're already in the hole. Is this going to make your world right? I don't think so. We live mostly on credit. How's this $1,400 going to close the gap in your financial situation from being underemployed and unemployed for over a year now? The U.S. labor market remains in a deep hole compared with this pre-pandemic high watermark, with nearly 10 million fewer jobs now. Data on mostly impacting AMERIKKA. Let's be clear. Data on Thursday showed 20.1 million Americans were collecting unemployment checks as of late February. Analysts expect a new round of fiscal aid to help fill that hole faster, bolstered by waning COVID-19 infections and an accelerating vaccination campaign that is expected to boost economic activity in the coming months. Excuse me 1 second. Overall household debt rose in the fourth quarter at an annualized rate of 6.5% compared to a rise of 5.7% in the third quarter as home mortgage borrowing increased. Not us. The Fed report showed total mortgage debt hits 10.9 trillion, the report showed. Not us. Credit card debt ended the year at 974.9 billion. Well, that's us. Non-financial business debt rose at a 0.8% annualized rate, up from 0.5% pace in the previous quarter, while government borrowing rose at a 10.9% annualized rate versus 9.1% in the prior quarter. So, another white and immigrant wealth transfer is just what occurred, family, during the pandemic that conveniently has ended since the election of Biden and Kamala. So what's in the COVID-19 stimulus bill? And then we'll move on to George Floyd before we get into the Black Panther Party as my featured freedmen and women as a part of Freedmen History every day of the year segment on my show. Oh, we can't do that until we do our Miseducation of ADOCS in America with 3K's book club series. So I have a little data to read from that. Then we'll get to the Black Panther Party, and I'll pray us out. The stimulus package update, what's in the COVID-19 relief bill? The size of the package is $1.9 trillion. The package includes a third round of economic impact payments to individuals. The current House legislation contains $1,400 checks for individuals making less than $75,000 annually, and phased out amounts for people with higher incomes. Married couples who file taxes jointly can receive two $1,400 checks if their combined income is below $150,000. So ADOC should have that coming. A compromise with moderate Senate Democrats resulted in the benefit being phased out faster above the income threshold. Payments would phase out at $80,000 for individuals and $160,000 for married couples. Children and adult dependents would be eligible for the full $1,400. So that's children and adult dependents. Those adult dependents, including disabled adults and college students, weren't eligible for the first two rounds of checks. My daughter got them. I don't understand what they mean by that. My daughter got $1,200 the first round, $600 the second round. I don't know why they said that. Most people that I know, dependent children, you got whatever it was and your child got it. What about unemployment payments? Their enhanced unemployment benefits totaling $300 a week are set to expire on March the 14th, creating a de facto deadline for Congress to act. Senate Democrats struck a last-minute agreement Friday to set federal unemployment benefits at $300 a week, down from the $400 passed by the House, but extend their duration by a month through September. Okay. In addition, the first $10,200 of the benefits for 2020 will not be taxable. That's a nice little tax break, guys. For those who collected unemployment and the federal on top of that. Okay, what is included for vaccines and testing? For those of you who are interested, I'm an anti-vaxxer. I don't believe in being a guinea pig for this government, who I know during the swine flu epidemic gave rich white folks one vaccine and gave the poor a whole other vaccine that had never been means tested. That's just me. But for those of you who believe into the vax, let me tell you what you can expect. The package contains tens of billions of dollars to facilitate the vaccine rollout. It allocates $8.75 billion of federal, state, local, territorial, and tribal public health agencies for distributing, administering, and tracking vaccinations, with some funds specially dedicated to making sure the vaccination process reaches underserved communities. The vaccine is free because the government is paying for it to enrich the likes of Bill Gates. Vaccine development, there's about 4 pharmaceutical companies that are, there's a fourth one coming, getting in on the act, getting in on the profiteering of the pandemic. Vaccine development would also get a boost with around $20 billion going to federal biomedical research for vaccine and therapeutic manufacturing and procurement, along with around $3 billion for a strategic national stockpile of vaccines. Another $25 billion would be spent on testing, contact tracing, and reimbursing hospitals for lost revenue related to the pandemic. I wonder how much Fauci and Bill Gates are making. A killing. How does it expand tax credits for children? The package makes a significant change to the social safety net through the tax code that could have an impact on child poverty rates and potentially form a pillar of Mr. Biden's economic legacy. Miss me with it. This little bit of nothing ain't gonna do anything to pull us out from the mountain of debt and wealthlessness and incomeless households that we're under right now. So no, there ain't no economic legacy in these tax credits, okay? The plan would raise the $2,000 child tax credit to $3,000. I'm sure that is a big whopping deal in your world. Set the credit at $3,600 for parents of children under age 6 and make parents of 17-year-olds eligible. It would also make the credit fully refundable so low-income households would get the full benefit, no matter how little they earn. For a household with a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old that doesn't earn enough to pay income taxes, the plan would boost their maximum child tax credit to $6,600 from $2,800. Guess it beat to zero. The proposal would also authorize periodic payments so that the credit becomes a near universal child allowance like those in some other countries instead of part of a lump sum tax refund. While the package would make the child tax credit changes only for 1 year, it is broadly expected that Democrats will seek to make them permanent in the future. Wow. That surely closes the over $100 trillion egregious racial wealth gap. Don't you feel better now? Are there other provisions targeted at certain industries or workers? Yes. One provision would allow federal workers, including postal workers, to take as many as 600 hours of emergency paid leave related to COVID-19. Also, the restaurant industry will receive $25 billion in relief targeted at small and mid-sized restaurants and chains. The money would be doled out in grants that don't need to be repaid if the restaurants use them for operating expenses, including payroll, rent, and providing personal protective equipment to employees. What happened to the minimum wage increase? 8 Democrats voted it down. Enough said. What else did the Senate change from the House bill? Senate reconciliation rules are much stricter than the House's, which can pass legislation by simple majority. Along with the minimum wage increase, the Senate also eliminated funding for an extension of the Bay Area Rapid Transit Subway in Silicon Valley and a bridge in upstate New York due to a ruling by the parliamentarian. Democrats also shuffled tax provisions in the bill. They removed a House proposal that would have frozen the growth in annual limits on contributions to retirement accounts after 2030. They replaced it with tighter limits on companies' deductions for executive compensation, but only starting in 2027. The rich keep getting richer at our expense, while the government is a no to our cash repair. They think that giving us more education, as demonstrated by the fact that we're 24% degreed to Hispanics, 17% degreed, and we earn, our median income is $10,000 less than those very Hispanics. They believe giving us free education as a form of reparations is going to close the over $100 trillion egregious racial wealth gap when we're not the ones they're hiring. Clearly. Senate Democrats added a provision that would make much student loan forgiveness free from income taxes, creating an exception from 2021 through 2025 to the normal rule that canceled debt is income. How much funding is included for the schools? $130 billion for K through 12. Go to the school districts to pay for reducing the class sizes to accommodate social distancing, improving ventilation, hiring more janitors, and providing more personal protective equipment. Republicans have criticized the package for not directly tying funds to schools reopening and for spreading the aid over many years. That's something to be up in arms about, especially for our public schools, since Obama's administration and Trump's was about giving money from the public schools to the charter schools. How much state and local aid is there? The bill would provide $350 billion to state and local governments whose coffers have been hit by a loss of tax revenue during the pandemic, causing many to plan cuts to services and warn of tax increases to allow them to balance their budgets. Republicans have slammed the aid as blue state bailouts. These same Republicans want estate taxes to be wiped off the whole entire map. They don't want to pay estate tax. Oh, okay. But they want to sit up here and say it's blue state bailouts, rewarding Democratic states for poor financial decisions that predated the pandemic, and note that many states' tax revenues have exceeded expectations. These are the very welfare kings and queens who love to capitalize their profits and socialize their losses as they gamble with our tax dollars. We get to eat those losses. Yeah. The Senate changes set aside $10 billion of the state and local aid for infrastructure projects. For state and local aid, senators are mandating that individual states receive at least as much as they did from a prior aid package and allowing governments to use the funds for economic recovery efforts. They're also placing rules on how the funds can be used, barring states from using the aid for pensions or to finance tax cuts. What healthcare provisions are in the bill? Along with virus-related provisions like vaccine and testing funds, the bill contains the largest overhaul to the Affordable Care Act in years. The bill expands eligibility for subsidies to purchase insurance to people of all incomes and caps the maximum premium at 8.5% of a person's income. They don't get how when you're working for nothing, 8.5% is still a whole hell of a lot. This is the state of ADOCS. The bill also encourages states to expand Medicaid by having the federal government pay for new recipients. 12 states have refused to broaden their Medicaid programs through the ACA, even though the federal government pays 90% of the cost. It is unclear whether these changes will lead states to accept the expansion after years of opposition. Employees who lose their jobs or lose benefits as a result of working fewer hours qualify for 100% COBRA health insurance subsidies under the Senate plan, a boost from the 85% subsidy in the House passed bill. Well, that's good. Rural hospitals will get a boost under the legislation, which provides $8.5 billion for rural hospitals and healthcare facilities for expenses and lost revenues attributable to the pandemic. Native American healthcare workers would receive their own targeted funds. Excuse me. Oh, thank you, AT. Thank you. If you want to contribute to the show, cash at $FOADOS TV. Cash at $FOADOS TV. Thank you to those of you who have contributed to assisting me in educating the masses and advocating exclusively for our group for reparations and economic recovery. I appreciate you. I'll be over to give you love in a second, but this is a lot to cover. Y'all type y'all notes. I'll get to them. Okay, so I'm moving next to what we get wrong about the egregious racial wealth gap, about closing it. That's short. Then we'll jump into George Floyd. Okay, Native Americans healthcare providers would receive their own targeted funds with $6 billion set aside for the Federal Indian Health Service and related tribal healthcare services, which includes money for mental health services. Now, see, this is the COVID relief that myself and CBAC, Concerned Black American Citizens, and ADOS DMV, which is now NAASD, this was a COVID relief we were trying to get set aside specifically for our group that Joe Biden decided to give cover and protection in this last stimulus of $6 billion. Donald Trump, I think, gave $3 billion. And when Biden was asked about reparations for ADOCS, who built all the wealth, were even enslaved by the natives, the Indians enslaved us, they get $10 billion, roughly, because I'm speculating about Trump. That's been a minute. I want to say it was $3 billion. Somebody gets the math right on that. You can share it in the chat and I'll read it. But $6 billion set aside when we're dying disproportionately from COVID. But 87% of our electorate, whom Jim Crow Sloppy Joe said, you had my back, I'll have yours, have yet to be issued any set-asides for being the highest in every category. Oh. Okay. Will Republicans support the proposal? Whatever. I don't give a care. It's done now, so I don't need to read that part. Okay, so let's go next to let me come see what y'all had to say. Y'all been over here for a long time. A little over an hour. Let's see what y'all got to say. Welcome to the live, one and all. For those of you who have yet to chat, welcome. Let's come over here and show some ADOCS love to my people. Media Engagement Solutions, I see you. Thank you for the love. Thank you for everything. At 400 Years Org, thank you for joining the live. The Universal Mike Michelson, thank you for joining the live. Yes, my loves. I'm going to read only the most important comments, okay? Because we have a little bit more to go, and I'm at 7:16. I'm trying to get y'all out in 2. D.A. DeLuey, 420, thank you for joining the live from Twitter. Yay. Trey, what's up, my fam? Miss Lady K Love, Brian C. Johnson, Robin White. I'm at work, but I'm listening. I love you, Black and Strong for it, family. Brian says, wow, a white high school dropout has more median wealth than a college-educated Black. Exactly, family. Exactly my point. While your Democrats and Republicans alike are no to reparations. They're working to extinct us. Make us fourth-class citizens anyway in the country of our ancestors. Goes to show your education alone will not close the racial wealth gap. It doesn't mean not to get your education, but you better make sure you find a way to make them pay for it. Become an officer in the military, do something. That's what my daughter's looking at to get a full ride all the way up to her doctorate. We got to work smart and not so hard. Okay? So while I'm over here giving you data, understand this data is to be used for you to weaponize this data in your own household to come up with a plan. Because when you're not at the table, because you can't afford to be, you're on the menu. Okay? But Taj Sampson, Bejtaj Sampson, excuse me. Thank you for joining the live. Miss Lady K Love, get this. I saw that Trump said Herschel Walker would be a good candidate to run for president. Yeah, Black folks are surely going to run out and vote for him, right? That's comedy. Thank you. I needed that comic relief. Good evening on Long Island. Good evening in the Bronx. Good evening everywhere else. Mike Michelson, thank you for the laugh. Lady K says, people refuse to see ADOS are owed reparations. Even our own. My biggest fight is my own people. I can't get to white folks. I got to fight ADOCS. It's a mess, sis. Betmass, welcome to the live. Yes, puckery. When all else fails, ratchetness prevails, says Mike Michelson. You better know it. Melanated integrity, I see you, fam. ADOS reparations, I see you, fam. What's up? B1, FBA, B1, Be the Power, 13%, all my family. ADOCS, but DOAX. Freedwomen, Betmass, okay. Beshtosh here from New York City. Thank you, Angela. I think you were here twice. Okay, my love. ADOS reparations, we are listening. Yes. Welcome to the live. Is this a guinea pig emoji? Mike Michelson, you cracked me up. Oh my God. It started, okay, Brian says it started getting distributed after about 9 months of a pandemic, basically 1 human gestation it took for them to make a vaccine. Okay? But they want to hang me on a cross. Someone told me I'm trying to kill them. Is it me trying to kill you or your government? Okay? I'm just saying. I don't understand why folks get mad with me with sharing about the complications of this vaccine, of which the media is doing a convenient way of hiding it from people. Why can't I share and afford the people a chance to make an informed decision for those who are undecided? Why do you have to all the way go to I'm trying to kill y'all? If your mind is made up, do you, boo-boo? But my people deserve to know that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and now conveniently after 1 quarter of Biden-Harris, the whole country's able to open up now. Schools are opening. I guess enough of y'all got the vaccine. It's time to go back. I don't know. I can't tell you how it miraculously disappeared with their election. Sounds real suspect. Exactly. Mike Michelson, we have a mayoral election Tuesday. I wrote the candidates an email asking about their position on the U.S. Conference of Mayors supporting H.R. 40. They haven't answered yet. I am withholding my vote. Woo, I love you, Black and Strong family. That's the way you weaponize your vote. That's the way you do it. They want to sit up here collectively as mayors and say that we're owed, what was it, $106 quadrillion or something crazy. 6 quadrillion. But now they won't respond to you. You're doing the right thing, Mike Michelson. I love you, Black and Strong, for that one right there. That's the way you do it. You got to do it that way. Lady K says, but you have blacks I talked to that for not believe we are owed reparations, period. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, they want to get on this train. They're under this umbrella of benign neglect and decadent veil. You see, when the media keeps putting out accomplished black folks, which are few and far between, they in many ways, because they're able to look like them, believe that makes them one of them. So they are, masking their own failure, not really looking at the math. They're not. And this is why they can sit up here and be a no to reparations, because in their world, they're fine. Well, many of the boomers are fine, but they're failing to understand that they stopped fighting. They got their little creature comforts and went back to sleep. As long as they can just live in peace. They really don't give a damn about the rest of us. The Gen Xers, the millennials, the Gen Zs. All of that is on us, and we're at George Floyd 846. But you have blacks. Okay, yeah, so Chauvin's going to walk. Well, family, I'm praying that the God in the people on that jury will not be hung. But I gave you the show, and you guys can go on the archives. That show was Friday past, where I showed you how I lined up my deductive reasoning for my third eye, which looks like he's being set up to walk. So I'm praying that the same God that rested in me on the 7th day and named me the best of all creation, I'm gonna be praying that our gods sync up, have a conversation with this jury, so that we can get a conviction, and this man be buried under the jail. That's what I'm praying for. So my prayers have worked to bring my life to where it is today. That's all I got is my faith. And so during that whole period of that trial, I'm going to be in prayer about it, talking and appealing to their Christ to do the right things, especially when they go into deliberations. I'm going to be full court pressed, talking to the Christ in them. Yes, I am. That's all I got. Go to your laundromat. Welcome to the live. We in here, Angie. We smart, fine, as we said before. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love. Thank you for your beautiful compliments. I receive them and return them a millionfold. Miss Lady K Love, they don't believe we deserve it. Well, they're sadly mistaken. They're literally cutting off their children and their grandchildren and their whole entire line if they don't get in this fight. We absolutely are owed it. And just because white folks sit up here and put it in the media and they lie to you about your history, you got to educate yourself about what happened. That's what I do over here at the Reparations Perspective. I give you that knowledge so you can work from an informed place and get fortified in your belief that we are owed it in the trillions over multi-generations. Let me put it like this. We're done without it. We are done without it. I just shared with you the data that education doesn't close this egregious racial wealth gap. Neither does a median income of $45,000 or a median household net worth of $10,000, which is really $1,700 nationwide. Okay? So we need all hands on deck. Everybody needs to be fighting this fight. Everybody gets to be in the movement. And that's how that needs to work henceforth. And you need to weaponize your vote. And I'm going to tell you how at the end of the show. Okay? Okay. Keep it on. They won't acknowledge us. Well, that's why we've got to sound the alarm. Politicians respond to pressure, not applause. This revolution has been social mediaized to the point of 2 hearings. You understand me? And we made it a national debate topic. That's how much lighten them up in Twitter, lighten them up in Instagram, lighten them up in Facebook, lighten them up in the emails, lighten them up on the phone calls. You've got the power. Wear their asses out. Do you hear me? That's the only way. And understand your vote is your only commodity. And you can't just be giving it away, voting damn blue, no matter damn who, to your people's peril. So we all need to get on that same page and work in a coordinated way, the way the other groups work. Or we're finished. We are at George Floyd 846. You don't get to George Floyd 846 unless you are a wealthiest group. There were 1 million George Floyds before this one that outraged the country. And there's 1 million more George Floyds happening that they won't televise because they want to make you believe, put the sheeple back to sleep, that George Floyd just happened within the 4 years of Trump. Otherwise, they're a non-racist country. Miss me with it. Okay? Y'all got to read the tea leaves, look at things through your third eye, and look at how quiet it's been relatively. I'm still seeing a lot because I am a part of the new black media, so I am constantly coming across different YouTube vloggers who are sharing about how they're continuing to gun us down and beat us mercilessly to a pulp. But the media needs to put the sheeple back to sleep because they got midterms coming in 2022. But I believe in socializing my suffering. That's what's going to show up in the booth. I'm going to socialize my suffering in the midterms. I saw that comment earlier on Facebook, Row on the Floor, Angela. You were like, please show some data, not your fantasy. That's right. But do they ever come back, Brian? Do they ever come back with the data? I know this data in my sleep. Do they ever come back in the Facebook with any data to counter their made-up stories? They get silent or they block. It's rich. That data shuts them down. As a side note, here in New York, Brian says, when you look for a job, I notice all the hiring staff are either white, women, or Hispanics. As goes California, what I tell y'all? As goes California, as goes the nation. I'm surprised, like out here, you have to know Spanish before you can even be interviewed. I'm surprised y'all don't have that. You got to speak Spanish in the country your ancestors built. Lady K Love says it's mostly white here in the hiring seats. We have no social capital. I told y'all before how Wells Fargo got rid of all the black folks, replaced us with immigrants, fired 5,500 immigrant workers for frauding the bank customers for the shareholders' bottom line while giving John Stump, the CFO, a $136 million golden parachute. Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second, guys. My child at the door. Honey, ADOCS life. Can you ring the bell again?
Hey, I called you like 6 times.
I know, sugar. I'm in the middle of my show. That's why you should take your keys. Hang up and call me on the intercom. Good Lord. Sorry, y'all. I missed the doorbell. Bear with me. What? Will you please ring the intercom?
I am.
Hang up the phone and call the doorbell. Are you pressing it correctly? Oh, Lord. Try again, babe. Y'all, excuse me for one moment. She's having trouble with the intercom. I'll be right back. I'm glad we family, y'all. I am glad we are family. This is to mess up my whole background. Lord, today. Thank y'all for y'all's patience. Anywho, I lost my train of thought. Okay. Oh, I was saying how we have no social capital, how Wells Fargo got rid of us and replaced us with immigrants who frauded the bank customers for the shareholders' bottom line and gave CFO John Stump a $136 million golden parachute. So we have no one in a position to hire us. And when they do hire us, they look for every reason not to give us the opportunity, because they have been hired to do the white man's bidding of making sure we don't get in. This is why we need the reparations. Okay, so shaking my head. Okay, Lady K Love says, yes, our whole office floor was sick in 2019. Oh, yeah. We thought it was a flu. Exactly. I thought it was a severe cold because I was coughing and coughing and coughing, had fever, no appetite, the whole 9 yards. It was a mess. I could barely speak, and it hurt my chest something fierce. They called it walking pneumonia and treated me as such. The first time I took a 10-day trial of antibiotics, and it went away in 5 to 6 months. The second time they gave me shots, 3 consecutive days to the buttocks. They gave me the shot, and it went away along with the 10-day antibiotic, and it went away in 10 days, 2 weeks, roughly. So, yeah, I believe many of us have already had this, and many people do as well. We thought it was the flu. Brian says, this is why POC BIPOC narratives are BS. Economically, Asians have no comparison to ADOCs, who are always at the bottom, but them getting pushed by random somehow makes them hate crime victims. Exactly, Brian. This is what they've done to get the narrative off of Black Life Mattering. Let's just pivot to Asian Lives Matter or the All Lives Matter narrative. Instead of giving us reparations, they enrich whites and immigrants to the tune of $130.2 trillion last year during the pandemic. While we lost our jobs and what little bit of wealth we had left. Homes, the whole 9 yards. Increasing the homeless population, the whole 9 yards. But that's what they do. No, I can't, because the majority are broke or living from paycheck to paycheck. That's what happens to our group. Brian says that 10,000 is probably bumped up with immigrants included in the flat black, not accounting for ADOS specifically. And I think you're right, Brian. And this is why we believe in unflattening blackness in our own identity and our own ethnicity. Because that sounds like how they got to 10,000 and a lot of those numbers that were inflated. When you separate America descended of chattel slavery, you're at 1,700, including the family car. Nationally, our median net worth, it ain't no 10,000. That would be the Black immigrants. And this is what happens, why we want the distinction on the census and the whole 9 yards. We need the distinction to get our reparations. The whole 9 yards, they're doing far better than us. I've shared with you guys from the Color of Wealth LA that African immigrants are 60,000 liquid to ADOS 200 liquid down here in Southern California. I share with y'all how in Boston, ADOCs is $8 liquid to Caribbean immigrants, 12,000 liquid. I'm sorry, 700 liquid to Caribbean immigrants, 12,000 liquid, 12.2, and they're $8. Wait. They're $8 liquid ADOCs assets. Okay. We're $8 liquids in Boston, and our liquid assets are worth about 700 to Caribbean immigrants, 12,200 liquid in assets. And in Miami, we are $11. $11 liquid. I don't know that asset breakdown in my head. I haven't memorized it because I focus a lot on the LA data, and I know Boston's a little bit better than that by memory. Talking about assets, 700 ADOCs in Boston, 12.2 for Caribbean immigrants to $8 liquidity in Boston. And this is how you get to George Floyd 846. So you're right, Brian. They flatten blackness to get to those numbers. It is Black immigrants, Lady K Love. Let me get my green tea for this. Yes, darling. Buckle up, Buttercup. Oh, Lord, I jumped so far. That 45% in Black home ownership must be regarding boomers mostly. But keep in mind, if they sell their homes, it most likely goes to a non-ADOCs buyer, hence contributing to gentrification. I had placed my home on the market. I took it off. But everybody that came here was non-Black. Asian, Indian, white, and Hispanic people came. Not one Black buyer was able to come to afford to look at my property. You're talking about a condo listed for $465,000. A condo, 2 bedrooms, 20-minute walk to the beach. Not one Black person could even afford to come look at it. ADOS children is learning a bunch. Thank you, my love. I hope so. That's what we're here for. Each one teach one. Each one reach for one and teach one. Brian says the strong get more while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade. Billy said it best. Trey says Texas doesn't pay a state tax. What's the deal with the unemployment? I missed that, sis. The unemployment numbers. Let's just say I think our unemployment rate was around 18%. But once again, I believe, like Brian Johnson, that that's understated when you factor in Black immigrants. I do believe when you look at ADOCS specifically, it's much higher than that, probably around 30%. I have to look back at those numbers. I may have closed that document. Let me see. Yeah, I closed that out. I'll get that to you after the show. We being hungry sometime. We be being hungry sometimes. YVOC Info, I appreciate all that you do, Angela. Oh, thank you so much for supporting the broadcast. I appreciate you guys for being here and helping me to flesh this out, because this is a lot to keep to myself. I'm grateful that I have an audience who's interested in the data in order to enrich themselves and fortify the fight within themselves. So thank you, guys. We need each other to make this happen. Herb Saint, welcome to the live. Chess, not checkers. He says, oh, Reese Anderson, I see you. I ain't seen you in a minute. Here we go. All right, good night. I got to go to work in the morning. Love y'all, Black and Strong. Love you too. I'm going to cut the show short because, yeah, I'll do the rest on Friday. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to detain you. It is very late in the East. Reese says, lady, you must be still on crack. Most Caribbean immigrants are either working 9 to 5 or in jail. Okay. Yeah. What percent of Blacks in this country are Caribbean? And of those, what percent of Caribbean immigrants are in jail? And then run me the numbers for the percentage of ADOCS in jail. Okay, I know we're around 13%. So run me the percent of ADOCS in jail and run me the percent of Caribbean immigrants that are in jail. Don't just come over here blowing all this noise like you always do, Reese. Run me the numbers. Bring that data when you dealing in my feed, okay? When you on my broadcast, bring the numbers, not the lip service. Okay, you keep saying that the prison system is filled with Caribbean people. Please tell me what percentage of Blacks in the federal and state prisons are Caribbean. Oh, wait, you got time? We meant for the new stimulus bill. Hey, those children. Uh-oh, I don't know what that's talking about. Okay, we're at 7:44. I'm gonna... Okay, I would like to know the percentage, Mr. Reese Anderson. Can you tell me what percent of Caribbean immigrants, since you want to say a lot? You see, when you say a lot, that sounds like somebody who is in preschool. I want you to run me the numbers, Mr. Anderson. Don't just get emotional. Okay? Don't raise your emotion, raise your arguments. Come prepared when you come in my feed. Don't just come in here calling me dumb A and all this kind of nonsense. Bring your numbers. My data's pulled up. Bring those numbers, not your insults, not your emotionalism. Don't raise your expletives, improve your arguments. That's what the judges tell me when I'm in court. Bring me those numbers, and then we can have a conversation. Otherwise, you're just emotional and you're behaving like a toddler, and that I will not entertain. Okay. Yeah, database information over here. Don't bring me the rest of your nonsense. I see your back. In full form with no numbers. Crying like a baby because I'm sharing that data and that's what I'm on over here. So bring it. I'm happy to entertain it. And I will read it. I'll wait while I move to George Floyd. And then I'll get to the other segment on Friday. Run me the numbers. I want to know the percentage of state and federal prisoners that are Caribbean immigrants. Run me that. Okay. So I got to do this one. The George Floyd Act wouldn't have saved George Floyd's life. Let's get into it. This is Derica Purnell in The Guardian. On Thursday, March 4th, 2021. The reforms being pushed could not have even saved George Floyd's life. We need much more than this. And I'm going to get into it, but this is what the House is so proud of having passed. Nothing for economic inclusion, which is why George Floyd is no longer alive. This was over a counterfeit $20 bill, allegedly. So they're not talking anything about economic inclusion for AMERIKKA, whose ancestors built all the wealth Reese Anderson and his people and the rest eat from, right? They like to come over here with these distractions. All distractions are equal, but the show must and will go on over here. I'm the anchor on this show. On Wednesday night, the House of Reps voted to pass the George Floyd Act, named after the black man killed by Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin last summer. Among many reforms, the act seeks to ban racial profiling. Was George Floyd's arrest about race, or was it about the counterfeit $20 bill? Overhaul qualified immunity for police. Overhaul. Does that mean decimate? Overhaul. Sounds like they're just going to edit it. Make a couple of modifications here or there. And ban the use of chokeholds. Was George Floyd executed by a chokehold, or was it a knee to his neck? While these seem like good measures, they are woefully insufficient to stop police violence. These reforms could not have even saved George Floyd's life. The knee still would have gone in his neck. He still would have been harassed over that $20 bill. And like I said in my prior show, it appears Chauvin is being set up to walk. To be clear, Floyd did not die from a chokehold. A police officer put his knee to Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. A medical examiner's autopsy reported cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. Floyd also had blunt force trauma to his head, face, and shoulders. Banning chokeholds is important, as we should reduce the number of tactics that the police can employ to be dangerous. Let me stop right there. Did the ban of chokeholds in New York save Eric Garner? Or did it kill Eric Garner? Moving on. However, the problem with policing is precisely that. They can kill people using a diverse number of tactics: shooting, kneeling, punching, suffocating, tasing. Congress banned one practice and not even the one responsible for the homicide. Hold on one second, guys. Floyd was also probably not racially profiled. He didn't have to be if he was breaking the law. Reportedly, Floyd tried to use a counterfeit $20 bill at a corner store. The clerk called the police because using counterfeit money is illegal. The definition of racial profiling is when police use someone's race to suspect that they have committed a crime. Here, Floyd's act may have constituted a crime, and the police showed up to fix it. What's more criminal than counterfeit cash is the society where people live off of these transactions in corner stores in the first place. The police cannot solve this problem. They can show up and attempt to stop the crime, but they can't stop the underlying conditions that give rise to it: class, exploitation, and poverty. Floyd appeared to need cash, not the police. Congress has had several opportunities to give people what they actually need under the pandemic: money. George Floyd had tested positive for COVID-19 in April. By the time of his death, lawmakers had only distributed $1,200 to the public, and not everyone received the stimulus check. I wonder if Floyd would have used a counterfeit $20 bill if Congress would have issued $2,000 a month to the public, as several activists and progressive legislators have been demanding. George Floyd's blood is on their hands. But instead, Congress does what it always does when the police kill people: give cops more money. The George Floyd Act, named after someone who died because he didn't have money to cover cigarettes, gives millions of dollars to police in grants. And lawmakers gave the police more money right after they failed to secure a $15 federal minimum wage and failed to deliver on the $2,000 checks they promised to voters who put Democrats in office. But Congress made sure to include $750 million in the George Floyd Act to do what? Investigate the deadly use of force by law enforcement. Protesters have been demanding to defund the police to keep us safe, not spend millions of dollars to investigate how we die. We already know how we die: the police. The Democratic Party has repeatedly said Black Lives Matter since the Ferguson uprising in 2014. The Democratic National Convention featured images and families involved in racial justice protests. Yet the party has mostly downright ignored the largest network of Black-led organizations. The Movement for Black Lives, who have been demanding that lawmakers pass the BREATHE Act, the most comprehensive criminal legal package in the history of the United States. Representatives Ayanna Pressley and Rashida Tlaib announced the legislation last summer. The BREATHE Act invests resources in all communities to alleviate police violence by building sustainable neighborhoods and reducing contact with law enforcement. The act calls for investments in gainful employment, quality housing, and pilots for universal basic income. But Congress would rather pay for police than give resources to the masses of police suffering police violence. And under the George Floyd Act, police will still kill more than 1,000 people every year. The victims will be overwhelmingly poor, Black, and disabled. I completely understand that the political climate might require some compromises on the bill text. Top Democrats will hide behind these arguments to suggest that they will not find support for more progressive legislation. But political will starts with them to plant the seeds among their colleagues to make this possible. They cannot use their Republican colleagues as a shield from criticism when it is actually them, Democrats, who are not committed to more transformational policies. Vice President Kamala Harris could have overruled the Senate parliamentarian who decided to remove the $15 minimum wage from the new COVID-19 relief package. She did not. The Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, could have stood up and championed the BREATHE Act. She kneeled for a photo opportunity, wearing kente cloth instead. And Joe Biden could have kept his promise for $2,000 checks for people facing evictions, hunger and unemployment. He and the First Lady put giant hearts on the White House lawn for Valentine's Day instead. And we will not forget. There you have it, ladies and gents. Okay, I'm going to cut the show right there because I don't really want to go over 2 hours. And what I've got to share about what we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap and the Black Panther Party is going to probably take me another 30 minutes. And I know you guys are on East Coast time, and I appreciate you staying up this late hour to receive this information. Thank you so much. I want to pray us out. Mike Michelson says, Angela, at the reparationist perspective, according to the Jamaica Gleaner on Facebook, there were only 540 Jamaican inmates in U.S. federal prisons as of 2019. Thank you, Mike Michelson. Thank you. We got 1 million ADOCS. They got 540 Jamaican inmates in the U.S. federal prison as of 2019. Don't come for me lest I send for you, Reese Anderson, and the rest of your ilk. Anywho, that's my time. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to share. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you for being my co-host. Before I go, I definitely want to put a prayer of protection over us because we're going to need every ounce of prayer, faith. We are operating on a wing and a prayer. We are operating on a wing and a prayer. Okay? Excuse me, Reese. He looked at the data. You had all this time. He went and found 540 Jamaican inmates since 2019. You have yet to cite a number while you're over here hurling insults. Well, it's time to disappear you. That's what it's time to do. So there you go. Thank you, Mike Michelson, for going to do what I implored of Reese Anderson, who is evidently a Caribbean immigrant. That was his homework to do, and you went to do it for him. We're very appreciative over here at the Reparationist Perspective. Thank you for being quick about that. Don't come over here with emotionalism. Bring that data. We can go toe to toe. Why are you still here? I blocked you and you still won't go away. Good Lord. What do we have to do here to get rid of him? Thank you, Brian. Thank you for all who supported the show tonight. I greatly appreciate you. And with that said, I want to pray my prayer of protection that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever ADOCS and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God, the voice of God, the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until Friday, family, you go out here in these streets and you show the world who you truly are. And you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your work week. And no one's told you today, know this, that I love you, Black family. I love you strong. Peace, family.